Warning, this podcast happens 3 days from now.
Huh.
What's up, everyone, and welcome to the SC Not TV podcast for Time After Time, Season 1, Episodes 1 and 2, Pilot, and I Will Catch You. I'm your host, Dom. With me, we have Nikki and Kim.
Ah.
How's it going?
Good.
Good.
Going places.
Going places.
Yeah, going places.
Forwards or backwards in time?
At this
The
point, I
question-
think it's just forward.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, brand new series on ABC. What are your guys' first impression of the series?
I really, really like it.
Yeah?
Like, I didn't like. I though obviously, I think I've told you guys the whole reason I jumped on this was so like, oh, Jack the Ripper, let's go,
Mm-hmm.
because I'm a weirdo and I've always been really into serial killers.
Okay.
But and I've always really liked the Jack the Ripper case. Because I think the Jack the Ripper and the Zodiac Killer are actually my two favorites.
Awesome.
So that's what I was like, oh, so that's why I jumped on it the first, and I didn't know where was this gonna go, but I was like, okay, let's see. And they hit on a few things, and I like that they kind of make it also. They like teach you some. They make you think.
Right.
A lot of like little like things, and I like how. I mean, obviously, later they when she tries to kind of profile him a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, because that's what they profiled him as later on, like way later when they started trying to be like, oh, so, what was the Jack the Ripper's, motive? And then there's like 1,000 different theories of why, where, who, and who did it. But, that was one of the theories was that, he had a problem with, women or something.
Mm-hmm.
And why he chose prostitutes.
Right.
But then he turns around and goes, it's because they're easy. And I went, that makes a lot of sense.
Yep. So, I guess, hold on. Nikki, what were your thoughts on the show? For a new series?
In the beginning, like when we first started taking on the show, I was just like, another one of those time travel bullshits, timey-wimey, I don't want to deal with headache bull. I went off and I was like, I don't want to watch a show like this, but you convinced me. And, in the beginning, they didn't really tell you it was about, it had Wells in it, H.G. Wells, and it was time after time, the time machine and stuff. Like, that was like, okay, I was like, whatever, that's like Doctor Who all over again. But then they announced that Jack the Ripper was going to be in it, and like, it's really interesting. Like, I find it interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So watching this episode, 10 minutes in, I was sold. Like
awesome.
in the pilot, I was sold. I was like, this is cool.
Yeah. Unfortunately, apparently the ratings didn't do very well. The opening ratings, anyway. I don't know about follow-up ratings because the show has aired at least 4 more times since repeats late night airings and stuff. It was on this evening again as well. Probably around 6 o'clock. I want to say it re-aired. So it's been, who knows? New shows are rough to get people into, especially this late because we're in like the back half of a lot of other shows. Second, like the second half of their season. But apparently this show is only going to have 12 episodes. So when you get a smaller show like this in the back half, I actually kind of prefer that because there's not a lot of time to like stretch it out and wear it too thin. Like you have to really get down to the story here and really focus on it. But with that being said, at the same time, I think some of the charm that I love in shows like this that deal with somebody from the past coming into the present, and Kim can also vouch for this on Sleepy Hollow. We deal a lot with the main character in that getting accustomed to what life is like in present day. And we got a bit of that this episode. We did, but it seems like it's kind of on the back burner, that it's not like the main focus because we have a lot of other stuff going on,
Thought that
which
was
is
nice,
completely
actually.
fine. That's completely fine. But having so few episodes, we're not going to be able to get as many like really funny moments that we could potentially have with them dealing with getting accustomed to modern time stuff.
We don't, for these characters, they don't really need to become accustomed to much. I think Wells more than John Stevenson, but but the thing is with Wells, he was already envisioning the future with gadgets and things. So yeah, when he sees them, he's in awe, but he just accepts them as they are, as they come at him, because he's a visionary.
Right. Yeah,
so
but
I mean, it's easier for him.
It's like getting the pop culture references, all that kind of stuff, like getting caught up on the time, is what I really like about these kind of shows. And I'm a little worried. I mean, it's very soon to tell, but since we've already have 2 of the episodes, that leaves us with 10 to go, right? So there's not many more left in regards to that, because we're used to covering 22 plus episode shows for the most part. We have some smaller shows like that, like iZombie and different things that have a smaller number of shows. But I don't know. I also like when you just don't have a lot of filler episodes where everything is just story. It keeps going, keeps you excited, keeps you entertained. But a show like this, I feel like taking the time to slow down a little bit too wouldn't be a bad thing. So we'll have to see.
There's a lot going on.
They just don't have the time for that.
They have all the time in the world.
I feel the reason we didn't get a lot of it is, I mean, other than what I think is funny though. I think Wells had more of an issue with certain things. And,
he did.
I mean, John was like, "I got this. Look, I know how to use a cell phone already." Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, because he has motivation to get caught up really fast because he wants to kill again.
Yeah.
And this is a completely new ball game for him, and it's exciting, it's exhilarating. He wants to get in it.
Well, also, like you said earlier, that Stevenson, John, he said, right off the bat, him in the very, very beginning, before Wells even knows that he's the killer, they're talking, and how Wells is like, oh, I have all these visions for the future and everything, and John's like, yeah, it's not going to be like that. Like, he's already accepted that before it's happened. So going into it, it's easier because he's already accepted things aren't going to be better. Things are going to be this. So he's going in with a more open mind. And you have Wells coming in who's just like shell-shocked that, oh, this is not what I was envisioning. So he's having to get acquainted and adjusted before he can even get accustomed.
He thought the world was going to get better through technology. He thought that as we progressed, we were going to start,
I mean, it has
being better people. Yeah, well, I mean, a little bit, but I mean,
right.
Still, as the good part progresses, so does the bad part. I mean, you got them going hand in hand. You can't have, you can't light without dark. Blah blah blah. And
does everybody carry a firearm?
But
no,
I don't. The reason John kind of goes and gets it because he's already got that darkness. So he's just like, oh, the whole world's now
Yeah.
Yeah. Brian says in chat, I was a little worried that this was going to be another Sleepy Hollow, but luckily that fear went away as the episode went on. And I wasn't, going into this, I didn't feel like this was going to be another Sleepy Hollow, because this was dealing with the direct time travel. There's a machine, they can go anywhere they want. How often it's going to get used is another story, because we've already established all the rules of time travel in this episode, whether you realized it or not. But it's just first and foremost, one of the big things that you have the debate with time travel is, can time be altered? Or did whatever happen? Because Jack the Ripper was never caught, right? So you're going into this going, okay, Jack was never caught. Now, if he left that time period and came here, that explains why he was never caught.
I gotta get into this now. Now I know. Since because like I said, I know I'm weird.
But
yeah, you just put a whole freaking canteen of gasoline onto her fire.
Yes. Well, the murders just abruptly ended. They just stopped.
Right.
And there was all these rumors of why. There was, did he die? Did he just whatever? Because someone who kills like that doesn't just stop.
Right.
Um,
I mean,
there was this
and
big
not to derail your thing either, but we're also seeing John in this episode dealing with if he can change. Like, that's a big kind of question for him now.
Right.
So if at some point the show decides to bring them back, he could go back to his own time and literally seem like he just stopped. But, so much time. He himself has dealt with, years maybe of time passing for him, and he goes back to when he left or shortly after and is completely changed, and that's why they just seem to have stopped kind of too.
There is another rumor that the Jack the Ripper actually left London and went to America and continued his killings across America, because there is a documented of killings that are similar. They go all the way across the country around the same time that the Whitechapel murders ended.
Yeah.
All right.
So, I mean, one of my favorite theories is that Jack the Ripper is actually Sherlock Holmes. Like, I'm sure you've heard that one, Kim.
I heard that one, yeah.
Yeah. So, like, there's a lot of cool stuff that they could do here. Because Sherlock Holmes is from around this era that they were in with H.G. Wells. So I'm wondering if they'll ever bring Sherlock Holmes into this thing. We don't know where the licensing sits right now for the character Sherlock Holmes, if there is licensing for the character.
I'm pretty sure there is.
With ABC, yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
Sherlock, well, it's the same thing. Like, when you have stuff that's this old, the copyrights usually are expired. They're open to, like, the public. They're like, because I know a lot of the H.G. Wells novels just recently, Barnes and Noble has been selling what they call a hardcover series or whatever, and they're like leather bound hardcover books, and they look fantastic. They look like old style books, and I love them, absolutely love them. I have like the whole Jules Verne set. I have like the Jurassic Park one, but they got actual licensing to do that. But like, once the copyrights expire, anybody's free to use those characters. I don't know where the Sherlock Holmes rights and stuff like that sit, so we know that Sherlock is being used for BBC has the show Sherlock, and then we have Elementary, which another show currently using Sherlock Holmes with a modern spin on it. Who knows? That's not to say they could never bring Sherlock here. So, would love to see Sherlock Holmes come into play at some point. But
that, I think that's a season 2 thing, because if they just start, that's way too
for sure
far in the future,
for
speculation wise. But I mean, it'd be interesting.
Yeah. So we start back with H.G. Wells making the time machine and all this, saying he's doing it for research for his novel, and really, really like that, because I'm like, there was a book called Time After Time, and it was written by Carl Alexander, and it's the exact premise of what is going on here, that H.G. Wells built the time machine, but instead they travel to the 1970s. It's not, because at the time this book was written in 1979, so at the time it was modern time when they wrote this, in search of Jack the Ripper. So it's the exact same premise. This show is just bringing it into modern time, and then there was a movie, the same thing, that was also made in 1979. So, yeah, this is just more modern take on that. So I'm assuming neither of you have read the books or the movie, right?
That I have not. No.
No. Cool. But anybody else disappointed Cyndi Lauper wasn't playing it at any point during this song or this show?
I mean,
it wouldn't have made
just
me
to get it on the radio, something like.
And just like one of the clubs, just have like,
or no, like
remix,
driving in the cab
a remix
or something.
Version or something.
Yeah, I don't know.
They already, referenced the song in the second episode's title, and I thought that was just stupid. So, I mean, they don't need it, but it would have been hilarious at the same time.
I want somebody to keep tally, like leave it in the comments below how many times we've actually said the word time.
Oh God.
I feel like it's a lot because I just said it twice in that one sentence.
Fun fact. So we're talking about books and like writers and stuff.
Hmm.
So technically, John Stevens, who is or they're portraying as Jack the Ripper, is, I'm guessing, based off of Robert Stevens, which is a actual person they investigated or believed to be a suspect for Jack the Ripper. Was a writer.
Hmm.
He was a journalist and a writer, and
Okay.
he studied the occult and black magic. And he got into the case just writing, and then when he started writing stuff, someone said, "Oh, hey, he knows too much," and that's when they investigated him.
When you
Interesting.
study something, you learn things.
Yeah.
So,
Therefore, knowing more than you should.
you're right.
Well, B,
So
you know way too much about Jack the Ripper. Does that mean you were Jack the Ripper? I think you were. You time
in
traveled,
a
didn't you?
life, maybe.
Jill the Ripper.
Jane.
No, Jack
Hey,
and Jill.
Jack and Jill. I guess, yeah.
So,
Speaking of Jane.
There's
Jane.
actually this huge long thing of how he possibly could have been the Jack the Ripper, but I don't get into it.
Yeah. And then, they once John learns of the time machine and all this stuff, gets caught, confronted, whatever, they go through his medical bag, find out, oh, he just murdered somebody before he came to the party. So he escapes to the time machine. And what I really like about the time machine here is the whole system of the key. I think the key is fantastic.
Yeah.
The way the
Can't
time travel...
change the time if the key is not in the machine.
No, you can.
It just
What
it
happens...
won't come back.
Yeah, what happens the way the time machine works in this is if you do not put the key in the machine, you can still go wherever you want, right? But you can't get back. The time machine will revert back to where it started from.
Right.
So by putting the key in, it keeps the machine in the time that you're in. That's the fail-safe mechanism. So if you lose the key and then you try to time travel, wherever you time travel to, you're not getting back from. So basically requires you to have the key at all times. So the brunt of this episode was John trying to get the key from HG, and so he can go wherever and whenever he wants. A lot of that was pretty typical. You'd expect hostage situations, nonetheless. But when we first get there, when HG first realizes what John did, he gets in the machine, right? He comes out, he's in a museum. And it's like, oh, okay, well, yeah, that would make sense that they'd put the time machine on display in a museum. Somebody found it somewhere. That's kind of cool. And this is when we first meet Jane, right? And Jane is like the assistant curator of the museum, and she instantly has the hots for HG.
They are so cute. I'm sorry, it was so cute.
It's
Super cute.
adorable, and yes, I'm all for it, but we know that it's just not gonna happen because unless Vanessa, his relative, is lying, or he just went to her saying, because she was the most capable, saying that, oh, we're related, please do this for me. Unless that's the case, he doesn't get with Jane. He gets with somebody else.
Not necessarily.
Well, I guess, yeah, she's his great.
I mean, they're great.
Granddaughter.
So I mean, yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Somewhere in there.
Yeah, the lineage could be, somewhere down the line it changes, but I don't know. I like the chemistry between HG and Jane. I think it's fantastic.
She's hilarious.
She is
Oh,
great.
yeah.
She's great, and like she's also a little oblivious too. Like he's definitely having trouble adapting to technology. She found him come through the time machine. She's listening. She's in disbelief. She says, "Oh, you must be from a play. You're trying to," which would make sense in New York.
Mm-hmm.
It would totally
yeah,
make
definitely.
sense. And she's like, "Oh, it's a big publicity stunt. We're not calling the cops. We're not giving you attention." Da da da. Cool, whatever. I get that. I totally understand that. They let him go, but when she finds him, like HG runs, gets hit by the taxi cab, all that stuff, gets hospitalized, and she finds him. She brings him back to her place, right? And then he's sitting there, like, does not know how to work the TV, does not know how to work a phone, like, is staring in disbelief at the coffee maker. Like,
All of the remotes in one hand. He's just like,
That was-
what am I doing?
Like,
Everything's turning on.
she should have had a clue that something was wrong with him, a little sooner, right?
And she just
Well,
walks
He didn't
out
even know how
like,
to
she
use
was
a
all-
razor.
She was all Twitter page.
Did everything die?
Story. My phone did die.
No.
And I'm lagging.
Yeah, I was lagging too. We're back.
Okay.
okay.
We're back.
Did
I lost my
did
train
it
of thought.
stop
Anyway.
recording?
No.
Okay,
Anyway,
good.
so she's super like Twitter pated, and she's like freaking all up, like, just like, oh, he's blah, 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 blah. She's off in her own little world. So I think that's part of her not being a little. I mean, that's why she comes off ditzy. But I don't know. I still like the best part of like not one of the, I mean one of the best parts in the plot in the first one is when he's like standing in front of her room and she like gets the gun out and she's like, I'm from Texas. Just like,
Yeah.
oh right, and then the face he gives. And I'm just like,
That's why later in the second episode, he's like, does everybody carry a firearm? He was just like, he's in disbelief. Like, and in the first episode, when he just assumed that she wasn't in charge in any sort and that the museum curator was obviously a male, he's like, oh, I can't assume that stuff anymore. And Jane just gave him this deadpan look like, I'm going to gut you. Now stop it.
I was expecting her to be a little bit more violent with John later. Like, I mean, she was. She was good. I mean, she got him good, but I was expecting her to be a little bit more, like, kicking him in the face or some shit.
Yeah. But, like, with,
I mean-
with the whole thing with John, right, and him wanting the key and holding Jane hostage, like, which is totally, like, what you would expect him to do, right?
Mhm.
But when he didn't kill the hostage girl, not Jane, but the other girl that was tied to the bed, what do you think that means for him?
Well, okay. This is where my head
Yeah.
went as soon as that scene happened, because you saw him go into the room, he took out his curved blade, and you see him slashing in one scene. But then later on, it's like she's fine, she's just there. But in the middle of that, Wells explained that if something happens in the timeline, he poked the pen through. I think that just happened. I think what John did in his mind kill that girl at one point, but it somehow got undone because time's already been fucked with. I mean, they are not supposed to be in the future, in our present. And them leaving the past, even if it's just for as like a few minutes, fucks up the past.
See, as much as we
Yeah, I
learned
do.
how much time travel works in this episode, I feel like that them pulling something like that, it would be way too soon for this, because with when they travel 3 days into the future to convince Jane that time travel exists, they get a newspaper article that says Jane was murdered, right?
Mm-hmm.
The night before or something like that. Now, technically, how that should work is, since Jane time traveled to the future, she didn't exist for those 3 days because she's
true.
time traveled. Therefore, she couldn't have been murdered. Therefore, the newspaper article. But we're assuming now that this means that they intended on coming home back to the point in which they left, so time would have course corrected itself and knew that she was coming back. So in a way, we're kind of in this weird spot between whatever happened, but you can change it. So I don't know exactly where we sit with time travel quite yet.
I don't think that's what happened. Because remember, he sits in the bar and he's talking about people changing. I think she really got to him. I think the whole thought process of him never being... Because he never was found as Jack the Ripper. He was only known as Jack the Ripper. And that bothered him. Apparently he wants glory, but he does weird.
He could have
His
just
little-
slashed up the bed sheets and stuff like.
I think that's what he did. I think he just made the action.
Yeah, because we didn't
But
see
didn't
blood
actually-
or anything when he was doing that.
I don't know.
There would
It's
have been
just-
blood flying everywhere.
At that point, it's like, why even bother put that scene in?
Yeah. Oh
because
yeah, yeah. I'm definitely wondering what the hell was going on with that scene because it felt very weird to me, and that's why I'm questioning it to you guys. Like, it seems
that's
like he
why my
didn't.
head went straight to the time anomaly already. That's
Yeah.
why I went that
Well,
way because
you're used to thinking that way now because we cover a lot of shows that deal with time travel, so you're instantly thinking of stuff like that. This show seems like it's sticking to not involving time travel as terms of like changing current events, but changing uh, events that may have already happened or that will happen. You
I
know?
don't know. I just think just them even time traveling in the littlest bit messed something up. And because they aren't supposed to be in that time, their actions are, can be or whatever,
I mean, we will see because
non-existent.
we know that HG, his relative Vanessa, that in her past and his future, they meet. Right? We know this happens at some point. HG left a very unspecific note to himself, just to convince himself that Vanessa was telling the truth. Didn't leave any details, and then that also begs, when HG's in her like office, her house, whatever, and he sees all the books that he wrote, and he picks one up, and the guard guy comes over and is just like, "All right, should you be reading that? Like, you haven't written them yet." And he's just like, well, what if reading them inspires me to write them? And he's like, well, what if it changes everything? And he's just like, put that back on the shelf.
You're like,
You
you're
know,
like, you make a good point.
too much stuff to mess with at that point. So you could change a lot of stuff. You could change a lot of stuff with time
Well,
travel.
the
So
whole thought process is like the butterfly effect. The whole thing.
Like,
You do one little thing and it's whoop.
yep. Like I don't know. I hate time travel shows because there's so many questions and you never get goddamn answers. Never.
yeah,
And when
it
you do, there's 10 more questions that follow that answer.
well,
So you know what? It's
this
stupid.
looks like it's time travel that directly affects your actions and not like changes your thought process or something like in the line. So like he would actually had to have gotten into the time machine in the room and then like come back and like let. So I really don't think that altered that scene had anything to do with time travel whatsoever. I just feel like it was
I don't
Jane
think he
getting to
time
him.
traveled and it changed. I think it's just the initial, just time traveling in general from the very get-go fucked things up. It made squigglies in the line instead of it being straight.
Yeah, I
It's
don't know.
fucked up the frequency.
I don't see how that would have stopped him like killing and then not killing. Like it just seemed like what Jane was saying to him, how he doesn't have to be a murderer, got to him, and he went to go do the action and went to go slash the girl, and instead of slashing her, did the bed just to like go through the motions of it, but still
Pretty
like
sure the
change it.
bed was untouched though when they went to save her.
We didn't
Like
see the bed actually. We didn't.
she was laying
I was.
on it.
Yeah, exactly. That's my point. We didn't
I
see.
don't know if anyone has paid attention. I think we're more shocked. I don't know.
No,
Like,
I looked
I'll
for
have to
it.
go back and look.
I
Did
looked
you?
for it. I looked, and from the angle, you can't tell. So, it would have been one of those things because there's sheets and blankets and stuff on the bed, and I don't necessarily. If you're stabbing the thing, you're just stabbing it. There's gonna be a little puncture. It's not gonna have foam and stuff pouring out of it. So, it's gonna be more difficult to tell. I think in that particular scene, it was just Jane getting to him, saying you don't have to be a killer. Because then we later see at the bar when he's talking to the girl, uh, and he's trying, can people change, and this whole thing, and she's like, no, I don't think so. You know,
But what I like because he's using the curved blade. He made it really apparent that's what he's using. He spent $70 on it. It was kind of expensive, but he's going to get his money's worth
I
out
don't
of it.
think. No, I thought he said he spent $750 or something on it.
No, it
Wasn't
was
it like a
No, he said it
700?
was six. He said it
it
was
was
69.99
69.
or something.
Oh,
Something.
okay.
He said.
Yeah, yeah. It was only a $70 knife, but he made it really apparent that that's what he's going to use. It's like his new favorite fandangled weapon. And you see him slashing with that. You can't really stab with a curved knife like that. Like that's a hook on it. Like might as well call him Captain Hook instead of Jack the Ripper.
Mm, yeah, I don't know.
Well,
But
you saw him using it like that
in
too. You like hooked everything.
in chat we see who was it? Somebody just said. Sally says, "I don't trust the great granddaughter's husband." Right, something's definitely
Oh, I don't know. Something's gonna happen there.
up with him.
He's super suspicious. Like, he himself is suspicious of Wells. Him himself, he's just asking a lot of questions because I don't think he trusts his wife. I think he thinks that this is an affair.
Mm-hmm.
So he's asking questions to Wells to try and get information out of him about his wife instead of himself. Like, he's kind of going around the bush about it.
Yeah.
Trying to figure out what his wife is up to.
Yeah.
Oh, in the next comment there, it's because her past is his future, so it hasn't happened yet.
Correct.
That's why he doesn't know her.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Yeah. So, I don't know. I don't like the fact that her group, whatever her task. What do you want to call them? Like, they didn't give a name for them, right?
No, it's just
Vanessa's
it's just
like
her
people.
just her people. Like,
Apparently, she's super stupid rich. So
yeah, exactly. She has the resources just to have little henchmen running around doing her. She doesn't need a group name for what she's got. It's just money.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But like they completely disobey Wells. They followed him into Central Park when he specifically said all he wanted to do was get Jane back. They're more concerned with the key. Rightfully so. I totally understand that. But, at the same time, totally blew the operation. So, I don't like them. I already do not like them at all. So, I don't know about you guys.
it's like, I don't know, I feel like almost like she's got her own agenda a little bit.
Well, of course she does. I mean, time travel? Could you imagine if time travel, how handy that would be? Yeah, he did slice up the bed. I see it. Stupid pictures.
Where?
On the left.
I'll pull it up in a second
I'm
for the
missing
stream.
it. Maybe I'm just missing it.
I'm gonna pull it up in a second for the stream. So thank you for commenting before I got to do that.
I'm sorry. But no, it broke my train of thought. It's really distracting. What was I talking about? See, this is why that happens. We were talking about the people, right? Or just Vanessa? Or am I completely
The
lost
people.
now? Yeah,
Oh, yeah, I see it.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I
So
lost my train of thought.
just to get that out of the way here, we have this scene here, and you can see the foam on the left-hand side of the bed from where it was slashed. So just to get that out of the way.
Okay, so he withdrew himself from actually killing her and took it out on the bed instead.
Yep.
After making a point that they were very soft and they have figured things out in this time,
Mm-hmm.
that they know comfort now. But yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I don't know. I don't like Vanessa's crew. I don't like them. I'm sure
Yeah,
Vanessa
Vanessa.
has good intentions. She's probably a little confused too, because she had to deal with beating Wells, all this stuff. She had a lot of questions when he left, so there's a lot going on because she's getting some of the pieces from her past and some of her pieces for the present, and the way she's getting it from her past first and then her present, which is Wells' future first and then his present. That's his order, and the way that's fused and overlapped, it totally makes sense, but it's really it's got to be confusing for Vanessa. It's also very confusing for Wells, because they're
I think
getting
it's the same.
things. It's the same,
bring up
same level of confusion.
Doctor Who, but the river and the doctor
Mm-hmm.
when they first meet was that kind of confusion.
Yeah, so I don't know. Very, very interesting in that department.
Who was the tall redhead guy?
Okay, yeah, that was the weird dude at the end. We never find out. He's just this weird dude with a murder board.
Mm-hmm.
So is he like a Ripper fanatic? And he's he noticed the similarities in the recent killings with the past, or is he was planning to be a copycat Ripper, and then all of a sudden these murders started happening, so he's like, bitch, this was supposed to be my show.
Yeah, I don't know. Because one of the other things that doesn't make sense to me, right, is the time machine itself, right? And this is where heads are going to start hurting, right? You have the time machine in Wells's basement. Wells uses the key, winds up in the museum, only to find out that Vanessa found the time machine in his basement. How did it get in the basement if he used it to go to the future? How did it end up back in his basement if he used the key? Right?
I don't know.
So that's the kind of stuff that maybe will get answered on this show. Maybe we'll find out that the time machine was later used and returned to that time.
Well, obviously he goes back because right now, all the stuff we still see, his books are still there.
Mm-hmm.
The situation with Vanessa, she's still alive.
Right.
Obviously, if she never goes back, she wouldn't exist.
That's true.
So at this point, we are under the impression that he goes back.
So did anyone else really enjoy the actual time travel part of the machine?
I think it was fantastic.
It builds up, and then nothing. It's like you
had
whenever you
this
watch
really intense music, and then it actually just went to silence. It like completely cut. And I was like,
it's like it's not even 10 seconds of whatever. With Doctor Who, it's like almost a whole like 20 seconds of a build up and then a and you're gone. Whereas this, it's like really intense music. It fwams a little bit. It just like pulses a couple times and then it's done. And then you're just like looking around like trying to, and then he wipes away the frost from the window. It's like, that's it. I like it.
Yeah,
I like it. It's gonna save us some time.
It was an instant like
time. You said time again.
Mm-hmm. Time. There.
Now you're
There's
messing with
more...
the counter.
Exactly.
I really
Screwing
want somebody to do that. Somebody do that for us, please. Nikki's just making your job harder. Yeah, no, it's fantastic. But we do know that the show is going to spend some time traveling around. If you stuck around after the episode ended, they showed us a preview of like what's to come for the rest of the season, not just like next episode or anything like that. It was just whole mashup. It looks like they go into a war and like all different time periods. So it doesn't look like we're sticking to one area.
That's interesting.
Yeah, so I can't wait to see how that plays out. Anyway, next episode is called Out of Time. HG and Jane rush to repair the damaged time machine before Dr. John Stevenson, now better known as the Key Killer, strikes again. Meanwhile, Vanessa must decide whether or not to confide in Griffin.
So is the Key Killer an actual thing? I think B's she's going like this right now.
No,
looking it up.
This is in terms of the modern day, because this is in reference to how he wanted the key to the time machine.
He's been putting the keys
in their mouths to draw Wells out. So this is like his calling card now.
A whole new thing. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
So,
yeah, it is not a real thing.
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome.
Yet. Now we'll have copycats. Yeah, I don't know. Kim, you have anything else? I'm maybe I could going to Kim. I know Nikki's done.
Maybe not gonna look at something.
Or maybe I could be wrong. God damn it.
The Key Killer is a thing.
I think it's in reference to something else, not actual.
Nothing regarding Jack the Ripper.
Well, I mean, we wouldn't know if it was related to Jack the Ripper because apparently he fucking disappeared. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and like that's the other struggle that we have in this is, John, Jack, whatever, knows now that he's never been caught. So, that does not mean that something won't happen to him in present day or out of his time, because if he dies out of his time, that stays true. Like, he was never caught, you know? Nobody knows that he did this, and there's not going to be any information in the past about it. It's only going to be stuff in the present, and at that point, nobody's going to believe that this time travel stuff actually happened. So, I'm curious what's going to happen with that. I'm hoping that we get more than one season out of this show because I've already loved the premise of it. It's absolutely fantastic. But
There's a serial killer with the last name Keith, but no.
no.
Gotcha.
All right, Nikki, where can the people find you?
On Twitter at LadyVenom24, LadyVenom24.
Excellent. Kim, where can the people find you?
Also on Twitter at HUFFITY, PUFFITY.
Awesome. You can find me down below at Phenomenon, PHENOMEDOM. No? You can find us all and more on Facebook, Gmail, G+, Twitter, and right here on YouTube at /ASO TV Podcast for some more podcasts for some of your favorite TV shows, games, and movies. Till next time.
Bye-bye.
I said time again.
And you just said it again.
And again.
I think it's time to stop.
Time
All the
after
time.
time.